Good afternoon and welcome to this workshop about gamification. What I will show you, it's a workshop, so I will give you an idea of how it can work, gamification to foster innovation. But I will first start introducing myself. So my name is Philippe. I'm Belgian, but I'm living in Barcelona since now 25 years. It's not a bad place to live either. And I've been working during some years for big multinationals, and then 17 years ago, I launched my own consultancy focused on innovation. So we are helping companies to organize and to systematize innovation and creative thinking. And what we did 5 years ago is to gamify our methodologies. And when we created Binnacle Serious Games as a spin-off of the consulting company, and what we have been doing these 5 years is to gamify and to launch games to help companies to boost and to foster innovation. So it's now more than 5 years that I'm into this world of gamification, and I'm still surprised how it works, and I would like to share it today. So I will not make a long introduction because I have a speech, if you want, just finishing this workshop at 5:30 Central European time. And there I will go a little bit more about the concepts. So what I want to do during this workshop is to make it to make practice, not to show how it could work. And what are the benefits of gamification? So I think the concept gamification, you I suppose now after these years you're familiar with it. It's just to transform some processes into a game. So I prefer the name serious game, because in gamification you have the part game, but you don't have the other part, which is serious. So it's not only about playing, having a fun moment and making team building. It's really one process that is transformed into a game, but there is something behind. There is a methodology behind it. No? So when you use that, what you see is that really it's working to encourage and to foster involvement. Of course, when people are playing, they want to win. They are really into the game. And you see that they are really more motivated and more involved. It's also, you see people are going further, also because they want to win. So they keep concentrated. They try to give more content. They go really much further than in, let's say, in a normal workshop. We see that because they want to get these points. And then they go really further in, especially in creative things. It improves teamwork because what we are doing is to, it's like I call co-opetition. No, people are there is a competition, so people are competing for to win the game, but they are working on a common challenge. So they are really trying to solve a problem that they have in common. So it's a teamwork where they are competing and collaborating at the same time. And it's also very good for co-creation because game is like a universal language. There is no difference between countries or even between hierarchy. But I've been doing workshops with some general manager and people really, let's say, very young manager, and there is not such a difference as you can see in a normal network. So when you play, you forget it's your boss, and you just try to compete and to win. So really, and you can make a very good game with a techie and just in front somebody from the sales force. And normally in a workshop, it seems that they are coming from different planets, and when they are playing, really the game is like a universal language, and it's very useful. It's of course very agile and dynamic, which is quite useful now in these times of COVID, because we are all very tired of these Teams or Zoom meetings, and after 2 hours you're getting crazy. And when you are playing, it's really different. The time is really going very fast. It's giving really a good format. It was giving a very good format offline in company, but especially useful now when you are online all the day. Also, what we see, for example, in trainings on innovation, that you integrate the messages much better. Why? Because you live them. So one thing is to say these are the 10 rules to reframe a problem, for example, and another thing is to live it. Then you really integrate the messages much better, like any experience, and game is an experience to play. So it's very good to stimulate creative thinking, because you have a lot of stimulus when you play. So it's really a creative world that you are into. And the result of this is you're getting better results. And I can compare, because we are still doing workshops, trainings, and with and without gamification. And what we see is when we use gamification, people are getting further, and we have really good results. So this is the classical innovation process. So I will just tell you in 1 minute what are the parts of the process that where you can put gamification, because I will go further on that in the speeches I told you that I have in 1 hour, and you can follow it if you're invited, of course, if you want. So you have always 4 phases: no, exploration, divergence, convergence, and then let's say experimental and sell when you sell your ideas. So you can use gamification, and it's very useful. For example, when you make a kickoff, it's very motivating for a team or for a company, for a division, for an area. To start with the gamification is a good way to motivate at the beginning of an innovation process. I put that one in red because this is the one we will try now, which is about reframing the problem, which for me is still the most important phase in an innovation process, because it's the starting phase. So if you don't start with a new vision of your problem, the probability you have, especially disruptive ideas, is quite lower. So for me, it's really one of the key of the success of an innovation process is how to have a new view on your problem. You can use gamification for idea generation. That's well known. It can start with only cards to boost your imagination, or it can be more complicated. You can use gamification for also to build experiments, to build pilots, and then you can use it for the whole methodology from the start, starting from a challenge until the moment you have an idea. Or you can use also gamification to build an innovative culture in your company. So today we will talk about reframing. In Binnacle we have 3 games. I will show you one of these 3. The expedition you will see in a second on a picture. This is a physical game in company, starting with a challenge and ending up with an idea. But this is really physical. People competing in a meeting room. So you can imagine it. We haven't done a lot the last 6 months. Some, but not a lot. I hope the No More World is coming back again. We will play now this one, Mission Zero, which is about reframing problems. Try to find a new vision of your problem. And we have another one, which is about idea generation. And we are about to launch a new one in January. So you can see, for example, there on the left, this is the physical one, expedition. So people are competing, starting with a challenge and crossing an island with, you see colors. You can imagine it, colors on this island. Each color is one part of the innovation process. So in 4 hours, you go across the innovation process, and you end up with ideas that you present to the other teams. You can see on the image. And the one you see on the right, this is a digital one, and this is the one I want to show you today to give you an idea. So it's called Mission Zero because it's before starting an innovation process. It's about reframing the problems. You see here we have a guide called Ariadna, and she will help us to go through this adventure. So today we will not use the platform, and we will not enter the game because without knowing in advance how many people will be there, it was not possible to make the programmation to prepare the game. But I will show you screenshots, and we will make some practice together, and you will have a good idea of how the game is working. And also we will play some enigmas that we have through this game. So what is Mission Zero? It's a digital game to transform problems into specific challenges. Why? Because from my experience in companies are many times they are tackling challenges in a very generic, very broad way. It means that they have challenges like, how can I improve my communication? How can I improve remote working? So things that are not concrete at all. So what they should do is to first focus to have more concrete questions to tackle. Because if you enter an idea generation session with so broad challenges, probably the ideas will not be very, very, very focused. No, so that's why it's so important at the beginning. And so the first reason to reframe a problem is to have more focused questions. And the second one is to have a new vision of your problem. If you are always using the same questions to tackle your challenge, the probability you find the same answers is quite high. So the best way to start in a very efficient way an innovation process is first to look for new questions before to jump to try to find new answers. And this is what we do with this game. So we are using this game for different uses, and now we will start to play in a minute. So to identify specific challenges, to focus on the challenges, we foster co-creation because we have people together thinking about the same problem. So they will share the vision of the problem, and they will find a new vision and new questions, find new lines of work for a problem. It's a very good start for an innovation process. It's very good also to align team perspectives on a problem, because sometimes you work on a challenge in innovation, and maybe 2 months later you understand that people had not the same vision, and that's why they do not agree on the ideas at the end. So it's better to have an alignment at the beginning of the process. It's also very useful to start a strategic reflection, and we use it also to identify profiles. Because why? Because when people are playing, they cannot simulate. I mean, you are what you are, and after 5 minutes, you are just playing. You are into the game, and you forget to try to look as, because you are as you are. So you can really see if people have an innovative thinking, if they are disruptive, if they have leaderships, if they have empathy. So game is also very useful to detect a different kind of profiles. So we have, for example, big clients using the game to detect the profiles before launching and before making the teams in an innovation process. So I will show you a small video. These are the rules of the game. So this is the one we show at the beginning of the game, and I will show you this video, and then we will start to practice on one part of the game.
Welcome to Binnacle Mission Zero, explorers. My name is Ariana, and I'll be your guide on this adventure. You're about to go into the mysterious caves of Binnacle Mission Zero, where any problem can be transformed into new, specific, defined challenges. Because in companies, as in adventures, people often take very general approaches to their needs and problems. They also have a tendency to look at the problem from the same old perspective, like this poor little cat, so immersed in its problem that it doesn't notice that the challenge isn't to open the door, but to get out. As soon as it figures this out, plenty of solutions will open up for it. The goal of Mission Zero is easy. These caves hide the most fantastic of treasures, challenges. You'll be competing in teams to find the best hidden treasures. Because if you have a good challenge, then you have a treasure. You'll pass through 4 caves, where you'll meet the 4 characters that will help you find new perspectives on your problem and make these into new specific challenges. Besides this, to get from one cave to the next, you'll have to cross bridges protected by mysterious guardians who will challenge you to solve enigmas. Your objective is to get to the door of illumination with quality challenges. That way you'll be able to cast light on the path that will lead you to solve your problem. During your adventure, the teams will win or lose bickles, the official currency of Binnacle, and at the end of the adventure, the team with the most bickles will be the winner. Now listen carefully if you want to find out how to earn bickles. We'll award quantity. In each cave, the teams that finds the most treasures will win bickles, while the ones with fewer treasures will lose them. Logically, quality will also have its reward. The teams whose treasures are the most highly valued and coveted by the rest will win bickles. And finally, ingenuity. The teams that manage to resolve the enigmas to cross the bridges will win bickles. At the end of the game, you'll have a report where the best challenges have been prioritized, agreed, and categorized. Your adventure will now begin, explorers. Remember that your exhibition leader is here to help you. So now, as in the case in all good missions, it's time to get into team.
Okay, so you've seen it's about, so you start with a challenge, and in the Mission Zero, in 2 hours, more or less 2 hours, you end up with a lot of new questions on your challenge. So you don't have ideas at the end. Sometimes I'm making a joke and I say you're worse when you end the game, because you had one problem when you start, and maybe you have 100 when you finish the game. But anyway, you have a lot of good questions to choose to tackle in your challenge in a much more efficient way. No? So you see also there is a methodology behind it. We will cross the caves. There is a story, but in each cave we will have one character presenting a methodology to have a new vision of on your problem and to look for new questions. So we will not do it today, but I show you on the screen. What we would do now is to make teams, so we can play until 15, from 1 to 15 teams. And if we are more people, we can put until 4 or 5 people per team. So let's say we can play from 2 to 50 people. So we start with the challenge. Let's imagine today our challenge is the next one. I'm sure it's not a big surprise for you. It's on the table everywhere. How to be prepared for the new normal, supposing it will come someday. And so how can we be prepared for that? So you see, for example, if you jump and you look for ideas and you make a brainstorming of that, it's very generic, it's very broad to start. So we will work on that to try to transform that into more concrete questions. So we will meet first the first character, and it's the merchant. You can see there on the right part of the screen. And what is the merchant explaining? When in the game, he will be explaining with the voice. You see here, you have an audio there. And what he's saying is mainly that a lot of times we have a more interesting vision on our problem in front of the coffee machine or in the corridor than in the meeting room. Why? Because when you enter a meeting, you are always facing the problem the same way, you are using the same words, you have your rational way of tackling the challenge. But when you are in an informal situation, like talking with some colleagues in front of the coffee machines, then you're not so politically correct, and probably you talk about the problem in a more honest way, no? And it's very interesting to imagine what are people saying when they are in front of the coffee machine about our challenge. So how does it work? What we see here, this is what the players would have on their screen, and they would be able to put text and to put contents there. So what we will do now is to play a bit with the chat. But imagine I show you how it would work there. So what are people saying about the challenge, which is how to be prepared for the new normal? What could we imagine they are saying in informal moments or places? The coffee machine when they are not in the official meeting on Zoom, but before. What could they say? So for example, in this game, people say things like, we will have to prepare not only the material, but also the emotional part of the problem when we go back to the office. We still have time before going back to the office. We'll still be long. We will continue by doing things remotely. So what else could we say? So you can put things in the chat if you want. And what kind of things you can imagine people would say in an informal situation, thinking about the problem. Sorry, went back. That's it. So you can write in the chat if you want. Be more resilient. Make sure we take care of our family and the upsetting. Yeah. What else could we say about what could you imagine people in an informal way are saying about the new normal when they come back to the new normal? Some people will be afraid. I will put it in the chat. So break the ice. Some people will be afraid. Could be one. What else could we say there? Some people will wear masks. Say Irina. Yeah. They should explain better how it will work. Things like that. No, they should explain. We have no idea. They should explain better, or the boss or the manager should explain better. What else could we say there? Nothing else? Okay, so I will not force if some of you are shy. You say, I mean, Irina is quite active there. Difficulty managing somebody approaching or touching us. Yes, what are we doing is if somebody is approaching, no, wow, what are we supposed to do? So you see, what you do this. Now you make a list of comments. So you have 3 minutes, 3 minutes 30. So you see here the chrono, it was already on. You have 3 minutes to do that. And then at the end, when the time is off, you will see the result. So for example, here they had the same number of comments. You will see the number of comments here. For example, team 1 had 17 comments, team 2 had 15 comments, and the team with more comments will win beacons. The team with less comments will lose beacons. So it's about quantity. So we try to make people not to think too much, but just to launch. And then what is the next step? The next step is each team would select, there are 3 comments they like the most. So you have a list. Imagine you have generated 12 comments. You select 3 and you have to transform them into challenges. For example, Irina said, people will wear masks, or people will be afraid if they will see people approaching. So what could be the challenge there? What do you think would be the challenge, Irina or the others? So a challenge should start with how, or how should we, how could we? come back to open the chat to see what you say. Difficulty managing somebody approaching after, yeah. So how could we signal people if we want to be approached or not? Yeah, that's a very good one. So how could we know if people are afraid of us approaching or not? That's exactly it is. So it's exactly the way it works. So you can see also on the screen, you see, for example, here, people said, we will continue by doing some things remotely. How can we identify what are the things that should go on remotely? And here, for example, they said, we will have to prepare not only the material, but also the emotional. So how should we get prepared, not only organizing the rational, but also the emotional? So you see, you transform your remarks, your observations, your comments, and you transform them into challenges. And then the next step is that you will see the challenges from all the teams on the screen, and each team is voting. So you will vote the comments, the challenges you like the most. And you cannot vote more than one of yours. You see, the green there are your own votes from your team, and the others are all the comments from the other teams, their selections. So you can select 3, you make a votation. So we have an agreement of what are the best challenges there. So what is the next step? You have your top 5. So this is the 5 challenges most voted by the other teams. And you put all these best challenges into a chest that you will take back at the end of the game. So you have the top 5 of your first mission. And of course, the teams are getting a lot of money if this one, for example, if the first one, the most voted one, is from your team, you will get 6 or 7 beacons, and then 5 beacons, 4, 3, 2, and so you can get a lot of beacons if you receive votes. So that's about quality. You see, the first criteria was quantity, the second one is quality. And then you have the ranking. I put here only with 3 teams, but you can have here a list of 10 teams. And then you see the ranking that Phileas Fogg is winning, for example, for the moment. And that's how you end up the first mission. So you have been thinking about comments, you transform these comments into challenges, and we had a votation on the best challenges. So we already have a top 5, and we go to the next cave, to the next tool. But before going to the next tool, what we have to do is to cross a bridge. And every time you cross a bridge, you have to solve some problems. So in this one, for example, I will show you a video, and I will ask you, just look at the video, and I will ask a question, and I will give some beacons to the teams having the good answer.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
That's right, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
Okay, so did you see something special happening during this video? Did you see something? I will check on the chat. If you saw something, put it on the chat. The bear was a change to the night, said Christine. It could be. You think so? The bear there. Are you sure? Something else? Nobody writing. So maybe nothing happened. I don't know. Let's check. No. In a game, I give a little bit more. 30 more seconds to the team. The teams are talking together. I saw something, I saw another thing. Then what I do is to ask to each team, what did you see? And depending on the answer, I give beacons or I quit beacons. So here, let's look at the solution first. There were 21 changes. So you lost at least 20.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me
even the dead
your
man
whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took
And
place.
yes, the bear changed. You're right.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Well, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable!
Okay, so you see, why do you think we don't see all these things? It's exactly the image that what is happening when we look at a challenge. What were we doing with the video? Trying to see who's guilty. So if you focus on part of the problem, who's guilty, you can miss a lot of things happening just in front of you. And it is exactly what is happening with the challenge if you don't reframe and if you don't find a lot of questions attacking the challenge from all the different perspectives. No, so this is a good image. No, we are only seeing one part of the challenge if we don't make a reframe, and as you see, we can miss a lot of good solutions. So, sorry, I go on. So what I would do now is to give beacons. For example, to Christine, I would give one beacon because she saw one thing. And to the other 0, if you see 5, if you saw 5 changes, I would give 5 beacons. So we have a new ranking now, and now we cross the bridge, and we can go to the next cave. And you will see the next cave. There is somebody there in the middle, and it's the sage. So the sage says we always have to think about the basic questions of the human history, which are how, who, when, where, how. So these are the basic questions. So let's use these questions to try to look for new questions, to try to look for new challenges. So how does it work? We will not do it with all these questions. We will try it. I think I put the when. Yeah, you see here, we do it with the who, where, when, and then with the why. Let's try with one of them, which is when. So what are we doing? So this is, once again, the game that the players would have on their screen where they put the context. No, so we have to look for a when. What is a when? A relevant moment for my challenge. So what is a relevant moment for my challenge, which is how to be prepared for the new normal? Put it in the chat if you want. What could be a relevant moment? You see, for example, in the team on the screen said after 1 month, because maybe everybody will be very careful the first day, but after 1 month, just be sure that they'll relax. No, so he said good break from the teams now. Okay, what else? What could be a relevant moment to be in this preparation for the new normal, or when the new normal is starting? So maybe the day we arrive at the office, the day everybody is back at the office, the day we make the first meeting, where we are, and where, as Irina said, when we are approaching somebody, that could be a relevant moment. For example, we say we can do it now to prepare. Okay, so what are we doing here? We make a list here. You see the when you make a list of relevant moments, and then you transform these moments into challenges. So you see, for example, here the team playing, what they did is after 1 month. So what is the challenge they put? How to be able to change the rules every week. How to be sure people will not forget to be careful after 1 month. So the first one, when the first people are coming back. So a challenge could be, how could we have the first people coming back to the office helping the next ones? How could we have the first people not being having fear? No, not. It could be one of these, or being prepared. So you see, you make a list of when, and then you generate challenges. And it's the same with the other questions. Where would be, think about relevant places for the new normal. Could be a meeting room, could be the entrance of the office. It could be the whatever, the corridor or the cafeteria, the place where everybody is having a coffee. So you make a list of places, and then you transform these places into challenges. And with the who, is the same. Who is about the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in our challenge? So probably, for example, the boss is maybe a stakeholder. Maybe the person sitting next to me is probably a stakeholder. Then you make a list of stakeholders, and you transform these stakeholders into challenges. So I see what you say there. Any non-digital space, yeah, could be any non-digital space, or maybe a digital place is also a relevant moment for the new normal. So how can we prepare the new normal from a digital place, no? Or how can we go back digital every time we have fear, whatever, no? So you see, you are making a list of who, of when, of what, for, how, so the basic questions, and you transform them into challenges. So what you will get from this second part are much more focused questions. And sometimes you will see that you will put there some place or some moment or some stakeholder that were not in your map, that were not in your mind. And that's where you find new questions. So this is the second case. You see there the story. So the first one was about spontaneous insight. The second one is about basic questions. And then we go on. You can imagine how it works, the same way as it worked in the first part, which is we have the list of all the challenges selected by the different teams. We make a votation, so every person, every team is voting, and then we have, once again, the top 5. So let's see what was the top 5 in this game. How can we use the first ones that return to have the ones that come after? How can we differentiate us with the new normality? So instead of being negative, how can we use the new normality to differentiate the company? No? How can we identify new opportunities in the new normal? How can we reduce the number of meetings and participants in the new normal? How to be sure people will not forget to be careful after 1 month? So these were the most voted during the second part. So we distribute the beacons once again. So the teams receiving more votes will get more beacons. The team receiving less votes will lose beacons. So you can not only win, but you can lose. So you see, it's fun. You're playing. You're trying to compete, but you're really working. There is a methodology behind it. No? And then you will go to the next bridge. You have to play a new enigma, and then you go to the next room. So you know the new character, the next one. It's a big special there. No, you see there. Why? Because it's the magician. Why? Because it's a bit crazy. No, we are supposed to drink a potion to forget to be reasonable. But why? Because we want to look for more disruptive questions at this moment. What we will do now is to try to make a list of the untouchable of my challenge. So what are the untouchable things that I cannot touch because for sure it should be like that? No. So things that for sure I cannot touch. So what I have to think about my challenge is, okay, I can change a lot of things, but what are the things that for sure I cannot change? And I make a list of these untouchable, of course, to touch them. Otherwise, it would not be fun. No. So I will give you the example now, and then we will try to put some in the chat. So here, for example, they said, what are the untouchable in this challenge of defining the new normality? So it has to have the same rules for everyone. Right? You cannot have different rules for different people. It's obvious, no? So we would have to communicate before going back. Of course, if we have rules, we will have to communicate as this untouchable, no? We would first have to define the new normality. We cannot prepare the new normal if we don't define what is the new normal first. And then you touch it. So what could be touched to touch this? It has to have the same rules for everyone. Could be, how can we define rules without having to define how the new normality would be? That would be to touch the last one, no? If we touch the first one, it could be, how can we have a new normality with different rules for different people? So you see, it looks a little bit more crazy, the questions, but probably it's opening really new ways, because you will find they are the most disruptive questions. Let's try to do it during 3 or 4 minutes. So what could be an untouchable? Put me in the chat. What could be an untouchable? One thing that for sure you cannot touch when you come back to the new normality. For sure, this will be like that. Okay, we make custom rules. Yes, we said, yeah. People will not approach. So a question could be how to force people to approach others. It seems crazy because of course we will try the opposite. No, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's good depending on how you see it. Otherwise, people will be very far. And approach, you can decide what approach is as you want. So don't see it just to the first side. No, we don't want people to approach. No, let's think about the question. So that's a good example of an untouchable. And then when you transform into a challenge, would be how to force people to approach each others. So in probably normal meeting, you would say, no, that's crazy. We are looking for the opposite. No. Just give a chance to these questions because maybe they are not so crazy. I'll give you an example I had in a workshop with an insurance company. They said, for example, what is untouchable? An insurance is for when you have an accident. So the challenge was how to be the best insurance when you don't have an accident. And maybe it's not so stupid because it's 97% of the time that you don't have an accident. And all the companies are fighting to be the best to give a solution when you have an accident. Why not to try to be the best when nothing is happening? Not to give the people the feeling that they are launching the money because nothing is happening. And they worked on that, and it has been very, very, very useful. So you see this, the third tool. So the first one was spontaneous. The second one was more rational, the basic question. The third one was a bit more crazy to try to look for very disruptive questions. And then it's working the same way. We have a votation, we participate, and then we put the top 5. Let's see what was the top 5 in this. I don't remember this game. It was a couple of months ago. How can we follow projects without meetings? How can we distance ourselves without distance? How can we define rules without having to define how the normality would be? How can we get different rules to each employee? How can we define rules that can be easily changed every time that the law or the new normality is changing, which here would be about every 2 days. And I think about all over at least every week. So you see, it's more crazy, but it's very interesting, the new approach that this part is giving. And then you would have a new ranking, because once again, if you receive a lot of votes, you get a lot of beacons. If you are the team receiving less votes, you will lose a lot of beacons. So the ranking is changing all the time. It makes it also the game very fun, and you can win even if you are the last one before the last part of the game. You can still win because the number of beacons is really increasing. And then you have the last bridge to go to the last cave. Let's try it. So it's just you have a couple of enigmas. Let's try that one. That's why this is a bit small, so I will read it. Who said spending your life making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than spending your life doing nothing? So you can choose, it's in blue because you have to choose one, not because it's the right one. So you can choose Steve Jobs, Bernard Shaw, Kim Kardashian, or Thomas Edison. And I see Rina is saying Thomas Edison. And normally it's when the moment I say, please do not Google, I'm just looking at you. No, and the right answer is Bernard Shaw. So you would not get any beacon, and the teams having the right answer will get one. So they have 2 small enigmas, and they will win or lose beacons there. But well tried. Anyway, you know one more thing than before the workshop. So it's always interesting. So then we will go to the last cave. The last cave is called the Sanctuary, and we will see somebody else and the last character there. And the priestess is talking about emotions. Why? Because normally we are looking at our challenges only from the rational point of view. And we forget that many times if we solve our problems only from the rational point of view, we don't really solve the problem. If people are not buying your solution can be the best one, but maybe it will not work. If you don't believe, if they have fear, whatever. So the emotions are much more important than the time we give them in the meeting. So how does it work here? We have a list of emotions, and we have to choose 3 of them. So for example, the player we see on the screen choose confident, excited, and worried. So you see, in this case, they choose the team choose positive and negative. It's not, you can be excited and worried. It's not contradictory. So they choose these 3. So that's perfect. You have 3. And then you have to transform these 3 emotions into challenges. So for example, excited, they say, the transform is how to make my excitement viral in the company. But I feel worried. So what can be the challenge? How can we make everyone see that the normality is no longer existing and there is nothing to worry about? Confident. How can we make people more confident than before when going back to the point of sale? So you see, you can find for each one of these emotions, you could find more than one, but you have to put one. So it's transform these emotions in challenges focused on emotions, something that a lot of times is missing in our meetings. So you choose the emotions, you transform them into challenges, and then you can imagine you see the challenges, the best challenges from all the teams. There is a votation, and you put the top 5 in the last chest. So here, for example, we can see what they found. How can we make everyone see the normality is no longer existing and there is nothing to worry about? How can we get people see that their first feeling against this new normality is curiosity? How can we make people more confident than before? How can we be more happy in this new normality? Or how can we make employees satisfied with the new measurements? So this was the top 5 according to the votations of the teams participating to the game here. And then we have once again we give Bickles or we quit Bickles to the different teams, and then we go to what we call here at the end the light gate. So it's the moment of truth. No, so we get back the 4 chests with all the top 5 challenges that we found during the four caves. We take these challenges back, and we are doing 2 more things here. So I see something from Christine in the chat. Do the teams only vote on their own challenges, or they vote to all the teams? So they do 2 things. First, they make a selection in their own challenges. So if they have 15, for example, they choose their top 3 into their own challenges. Each team is doing that. Then we show the top 3 to all the teams. And then you should vote, and you cannot vote for more than 1 from yours. So you have to choose, for example, 3. You can choose 0 of one of yours, and you have to choose the 2 other ones, at least from the other teams, just to be sure, because otherwise probably people would understand that they would get more Bickles voting for their own challenges, and that's why we don't do that. So that's the answer to your question there. So we take back all the challenges from the 4 caves. So we have a top 20. We have the top 5 of 4 caves. So we have 20 challenges, and before the last votation, what we are doing is we classify them into quick win or more ambitious. So more ambitious, so wow, this question is really opening a big project, a big thing that's long term. Maybe it's impressive, but it's a big project. Or this is more operative. Maybe it's a more short term challenge. It's not so difficult. Why? Because it's quite interesting when we have the list with the best challenges to have a good balance, not to take some of them quick wins, some of them more ambitious. Because if you choose only one kind, we will not have a satisfactory answer. Why? Because if we choose only quick win, we will have results in the short term, but nothing very disruptive or not a big change. And the opposite, if we only choose ambitious, probably we will have a lot of people busy working on big projects and no result in the short term, and maybe we don't have the capacity to do so many big projects. No? So just to give you an idea of that. So they make the votation. So you see here, for example, they said that there were more ambitious challenges, and there when you click on quick win, what you can see is what were the challenges that the people decided they were quick wins. And now they make the last votation. So everybody, each person. So if you have, for example, 5 teams and each one with 3 people, you have 15 people. Each one is voting, not only the team, just not to lose the diversity. Or if you choose the other way to compete, which is one team is one person, then you can have, for example, 10 people participating. Each one is one person, so each one will have 1 vote. And then you select your top 5 within the top 20. This is the top of the top, no? The last votation. And then you have the result. And you have a report that you can export to PDF at the same moment. So you see here, for example, these are the top 5, the top of the top. These are the top 5 challenges in quick win. And then here you have the split. No? You can see from the different kind of challenges, and you have the whole list of challenges. And many times you have more than 100 challenges there, and you can export, and you have that available to use just when you, at the moment you finish you finish the game. And of course, we are giving a lot of beakers now, because the last votation is giving a lot of beakers. You can imagine having the most voted from the last 20 is giving a lot of votes, a lot of beakers. So here you can still have changes in the ranking, and then we see who's the winner. In this case, Phileas Fogg was the number 1, and we have the last ranking. And you can see here the split and the detail. You have the report with all these challenges. So you can see you can play that in a meeting room. So the first idea before the pandemic was to do that most of the time, each team with a tablet or a laptop, and looking at the facilitator just in front of the screen. And now you can imagine we are mostly doing that, which is remote. You see there the people in Teams or Zoom, and then they looking. You see here, for example, they have the screen divided in two because they follow the facilitator. I was facilitating this one. They look at my screen in Zoom, and they have the game open on the other part of the screen. So they enter all the contents there, and they see the result and what is happening on the other side. So this is an example of a game done to reframe problems. We have a very similar one to generate IDs, and then the physical one I showed you before. But it's a physical with a board to help you from the challenge to the ID. So I think we can have 5 minutes for questions. So it was just to give you a first view of how could work a gamification or a serious game focused on innovation. So you see, it's not only about having fun. You have fun, you're competing or team building, but there is a methodology and you have an output. You have something that can be useful at the end. So let's see if you have some questions. What about your physical game? I find it very interesting. I find it very interesting, and it's a pity for me not to play more. The only thing is, of course, that people are not making meetings. I've had one team in Norway. They have been playing during the last 2 months. So the physical game is wonderful. This is the first one. This is the reference for us. We are already using it in 15 countries since 4 years. We won the first prize in the Gamification World Congress with the physical game, and it's a wonderful experience. Just it's not the number one for the moment, just because of the pandemic and people are not competing around the table. But I hope it will come back very soon. So hopefully we have also digital ones to use during these difficult times. But you can see, if you go to binnacle.com, you will see a lot of you can see videos, you can see pictures. Binnacle.com. You have my email also there if you want to ask more questions later. So how long does the virtual game last? A couple of hours. So the physical one is about 4 hours. It's half a day, let's say, with break in the middle. And the one we played, it's between, I would say, 1 hour 50 and 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20, depending on on the digital agility of the people. Because sometimes at the beginning, some people are not used still to be digital. Is improving with all these months online. But instead of dividing the screen, they are closing the window, and then they have to connect again. So it's really depending on these kind of things. But let's say more or less 2 hours. 2 hours. And the ID generation game is the same, 2 hours. More questions? Yeah, I see more. How does it work if somebody would like to use the concept in a class, for instance? What we are doing what we are doing is to make trainers. We are using it in a lot of universities, for example, and even in companies. What we do many times is we prepare the trainers or the facilitators, and then they do it by themselves. Because then if they buy some games, they have a code, and they can use the game whatever they want, and they facilitate it. So what we do is to train them, to give them material to really be good facilitators. It's not difficult. I mean, you play a couple of times and you're already able more or less to facilitate a game in good conditions. And with the advice we can give from our experience, it's not difficult at all. You have to play in real time. Yeah. For the moment, we only have it in real time. And before doing in a time shift, we will still have to wait about 1 year. It's not easy at all to make the programmation for that, and it's a big cost. So we have it in the radar, but probably end of 21. Do you have that online? Yes, it is online. You enter a code there. So we give a code to the people wanting to play, so they can decide two things. They can have people from Binnacle, from our company. We have partners in many countries. Oh, anyway, the distance is not important when you're online. And then people, facilitators from our company can help you and facilitate the meeting. Or the other way to do it is to train some facilitators in your company, and then you can do it by yourself. So it is online. Either train the trainer is online. Yes, it's online, but not to do it by yourself, because I mean you would need to really to play and to see how we facilitate to learn from that. So it will be online, but we will organize a team playing as we do, for example, now, but really using the game with Zoom or Teams, and we will do it online. So you don't need a physical training. You can do it remotely, but not doing it yourself, just looking at videos. You need to live it to understand and to see how it works. What is a new tool about which is not released yet? It's a very similar game to that for ID generation, because now for ID generation, we have digitalized some parts of the physical game. We are using the mural, and we are doing something that is very good, and it's much better than any creative meeting online. But now we are finishing a game which is very similar to that in the structure. It's not a repetition. I mean, the story is different, everything is different. You don't have the feeling that you are doing the same, but the same kind of structure, let's say, to generate IDs. So this is the one that we will have end of January, and then we hope to have end of next year another one about pilots and experiments, prototypes. But we have still a lot of work there. It's not so easy. When you see the game working, it looks easy, but it's not so easy to make it. To make something easy is very difficult. To make something difficult is very easy. So as we want to make it easy, we still have to work on that. What is the new tool? Yes, do you have demos available for this already? Yes, we are organizing demos. Just I will put also in the chat my mail, so you can contact, and I will send you the next days would be after Christmas, and we have demos and where you can come and you can see how it works. But if you want to see the video, you can find it on binnacle.com, and then you have the video showing you the games. And I will go back here to the chat, and so you can cut and paste. Why it's not working? Not letting me to enter the chat anymore. Yeah. I mean, so I put my email. You can copy and paste if you want. Just checking. Yeah. Okay, so we have time only for one last question, because now I have to jump to the next presentation, which is a speech that I have. I think it's 14.1, the number of session. It's not about showing the game as we did. It's more about how gamification can help innovation at different part of the process. So if I don't see more questions, then thank you very much for being there, for your attention, and take care.